Today, the European Union imposed sanctions on the Banco Internacional de Desarrollo. This is an Iranian bank based in Caracas, which the U.S. Treasury Department has already imposed sanctions on for allegedly aiding the Iranian nuclear weapons program. The United States, along with the Europeans and the support of the Security Council and the UN, have already passed a wide-range security resolution against Iran in an effort to bring Iran back to negotiations over the nuclear program. The U.S. has beefed up those sanctions with additional restrictions on Iran's access to the international financial markets, against the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Iranian shipping lines, in an effort to siphon off Iranian trade in the international markets and apply more pressure on the regime, particularly when it comes to the energy sector. Now, in a notable shift, the Europeans are also following America's lead in applying additional sanctions on Iran and are starting to look at banks like this one in Venezuela to further restrict Iran from accessing these international financial markets, making it harder for Iran to engage in everyday trade. The biggest flaw to the sanctions regime is the lack of enforcement mechanisms. So really, the sanctions say that member states should oblige by these sanctions and crack down on any sort of illicit cargo going to Iran that could support the weapons program or that could violate sanctions pertaining to the gasoline trade. But it's really a question as to whether, A, the governments will actually crack down on any of the companies engaging in this trade, and B, whether those companies can just go on and set up different shell companies for the Iranians to use, which is already happening. Essentially, it's become a huge smuggling bonanza, which a lot of people can make a lot of money off of. Now, it didn't take long for Iran to announce that it is interested in re-entering negotiations, but it's also going back to its tried and true tactics of complicating and delaying those negotiations by doing things like insisting on Brazilian and Turkish cooperation in the negotiations, basically involving more players to complicate the issue, also widening the issue to include the status of Israel's nuclear program. So there is a big question as to whether this pressure is significant enough to actually make Iran make real concessions on the nuclear program, although it is bringing Iran back to the table nonetheless. That said, we have to remember that Iran has significant leverage in a number of areas where the U.S. has a number of strategic interests as well as its allies, and Iran is showing indications that it's going to escalate activities in those regions, to include Lebanon, where we're seeing Iran escalate matters through its proxy in Hezbollah, Iraq, where the United States is attempting to complete a withdrawal by the summer's end, and of course Afghanistan, where the United States is fighting a very difficult war and where the Taliban is a very competent fighting force and could definitely use continued aid from the Iranians in complicating matters for the United States.